Good afternoon. It is a joyous Sunday afternoon for us. I'm joined by Brian for the post-match reaction. Liverpool 2, Manchester City 0. We talked about Tamuch and specials in the pre-match and in the tour, the pre-match predictions, etc. But it was a slot special. I mean, you don't get more slot than that. But Brian, I can't remember even in the 5-0 victory under Klopp. I can't remember us dominating Manchester City like we did in that first half. It was something to see, and I don't want to sound churlish as a Liverpool fan saying we could have had more goals, but nobody could have complained if we came out of that game 5 or 6 nil up, could they?
Oh yeah, Verge could easily had three. Mo came through, missed a couple of chances. Definitely right there. There was we could have probably had 5-6-0 in this match right there. This shows how inept that City side is.
I mean, we like to think that like City are the City of old, or not. Sorry, everybody else likes to think that City are the City of old. But we were talking about how they're not a spent force, but they're rapidly running out of spare change, and I think today really showed that more than any game this season, didn't it? Like they couldn't even get they weren't allowed to get their heckles up against their formidable rivals. We literally made them look like a mid-table team, didn't we?
It just shows you how important Rodri was to their whole entire offense. And their defense. So they didn't have anybody that as a holding midfield to hold the midfield. Even with Kovacic in there, they at least had somebody that actually acted in that same manner. But with that, they just seem like I don't think that Nunez even qualifies as the same type of player that of either two of them. So it's we were sitting there talking about even on Discord right there, even amongst this is going to take a season or two for this City side to actually become a formidable side again because they have six they have to replace at least 6 players right now at the moment. I can name off that they're having problems with, and I think that and I said before, I think that going and selling Palmer to Chelsea would probably did them more harm than in the long run, because that would have been somebody who they could have had replaced in the offensive side. Because I don't think that Doku or Grealish right there are an answer to them without having a strong midfield.
Let's talk about our performances. Konate out maybe gave us pause for thought beforehand, but Gomez was. Virgil will get all the plaudits, but a defensive partnership is made up of two very competent players, and he more than gave us confidence, didn't he?
Oh, absolutely! I think the Gomez, it looked like a refresh of the 1920 season right there with having Gomez and Verge back there. But it was in tandem because you see that Verge was able to make these runs where Gomez came there to stay back. So it's almost like the ability of having players that work together right in the back, how they can mentally know what each other are going to do right there. It just creates a good amount of the buildup of the machine with them. And I think that Verge came there and was pretty dominant. But again, like you said, Gomez right there, the same thing right there. On that same side, there was nobody came through and got through on that side. Doku came through on there, and I think that we basically handled everything that they had to throw at us on that right hand side.
Even apart from the right hand side, there were periods of the game where Haaland would pop up, and I'd have to go, oh, he's playing. Oh, okay, I forgot about that. That's how good, not just Virgil and Gomez, but also Gravenberch in patrolling that whole central area in front of the goal. It really was. I said in the Discord channel, which everybody should be a part of, that never to take anything away from Jurgen Klopp, but the details of defending are so much better under Arne Slot, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely. And, even going back to City right there with and that's what happened with Holland is when you have a 4-2-3-1 playing, you're basically, we've isolated Holland. So, they had no delivery methods to give them. Foden was, Foden himself was a shadow. There was no threat to them at all. But I think our defensive, you could go back. Trent defends better. They go back, look at Gravenberch is defending better. McAllister. It's like we've gone back to Like Slot came through, went and had Klopp's program that he had, went back and put his special touch on it, and just like tweaked little things right here, of going back to basics as just like defending, not always going there and going for the throat and all that. Just going there and being tactical, sit back, think, and and monitor the situation. I think that we've got a very smart football side at the moment.
I mean, it's almost like Slot took a tour around all the training ground offices and found Klopp's training notebooks and Rafa's training notebooks and Jed's training notebooks and picked up Brendan's and then threw it in the bin. And then couldn't find Hodgson's because there wasn't one. But there were hairy moments in the second half. After the fact, with a calm head, you could probably say that it's a top-class team regardless. Even if they're not the same, they're going to have some periods where they are in control of some of the game. But overall, I mean, for a new manager coming in, we look so composed, don't we? We look so unfazed by the threat of the opposition.
I mean, again, we just said it's a mentality thing, and I think that this side right there is growing mentally every match. I mean, look at midweek right there. We basically handled what was supposed to be the world's best player right there. We handled him, and he basically was nullified. We did the same thing to Haaland today. We nullified Haaland. I mean, so it's this side right there again. It's a smart side, and I think that there are these little defensive little tweaks right there they had. Yeah, I was worried with there when we didn't take our chances in the first half. I thought that we should at least had 2 or 3 in the first half to go through to sit back and relax. But sometimes in games right there, it doesn't happen. You just have to go back and let them do the push and just absorb and then hit them. And that's what we kind of did on that. Because every time that they actually went through, we dominated the midfield and we moved on. Because McAllister Gravenberg relationship in the middle of the pitch right there, again, was what came there and won, was one of the big factors in winning this match for us.
Kevin says, just look like the office for VVD and McAllister. I want to say big hello to Stephen Cook, Spencer Stewart, and Kevin, of course, and to the big boss man, Temujin. Lots of treats for the dogs today on top of all the leftovers, I'm sure. But it wasn't special on the score line, but in terms of maturity and composure and setting down a mark for challenging for the league title this season, it couldn't have gone any better, could it?
Yeah, man, that was awesome. By the way, I got to tell the story about the dogs because this has never happened before. Like everybody knows, anybody who follows the channel, these guys get a snack for every goal. And then at the end of the game, they get a snack, right? Usually I have to let them know the game ended. They kind of I walked over the snack, but I swear this has never happened before. We were watching the game. Well, I was watching the game while pacing around and Leo was next to me. The final whistle blew. And he started walking toward, like he knew the game was over. I have never seen that. Can't train him on anything else, like walking properly or, like rolling, sitting, and all that kind of shit. But definitely have trained them well on this. But going back to that, the last 2 games, I think we were talking about in the pre-match for the Real Madrid game, what I said, I just still don't feel confident about this team, like in terms of controlling overall and stuff like that. These last 2 games, the midfield, that Brian is talking about, it has been very impressive how well we can control top teams. I don't care how many injuries they have, blah, blah, blah. One of them was Real. The other one was freaking like City. So in both games, and I feel like the second half, we kind of did it on purpose, kind of like let them have the ball. When we want the ball and want to control the game, we have dominated in midfield. I think that's like the most impressive thing. So even if today you look forward from today, I am very optimistic about this team over this last 7 to 10 days. I think they've kind of shown that those earlier wins were not just like flukes. There's a method to the madness, if you will.
Ingrid Jansen van Nijkerk, thank you for the Facebook love. We appreciate everybody making their comments and their thoughts known and their feelings felt. In terms of domination, though, Brian, let us look at the stats. Just graphically, just visually, it just looks like we were playing a bottom of the table team almost, doesn't it?
Again, right there, when there's no ability to come there to give Holland the ball, you're not going to get shots. And I mean, that's pretty much what happened there. We basically sucked the life out of that system that they have. So I mean, again, you're right. It looks like we dominated them. I mean, I think also the early fouls and early yellow cards that City got right there actually came to our advantage too. And that's, again, just playing smart. And I think, again, we have a very smart side, and I think that they're more than capable of coming there and moving to progressing further.
Now, one of the things I want to point out is that we dominated territory. We dominated the first half by far, but in the heel of the reel, City ends up with 56% possession. Timuchin, does that tell you, do you think, the hints have been there all season, that as much as we always compare the current manager to previous ones, and my concern certainly was for, a Brendan Rodgers type slavery towards possession at all costs, but that just shows you that Slot is not really that concerned with having all of the ball, is he? He just wants to win the game, and he just sees possession as a tool to do that. But like Rafa before him, he also understands, it seems, that you can control the game without having the ball.
Yeah, that's interesting. I want to really looking forward to this post-match press conference and see if that was really intentional. I thought it was, and sounds like you think it was too. I just don't know if it was or not, but it felt like it. Like we were like, okay, you can have the ball, because our shape and everything defensively was very well, and we kind of knew what they were going to do, because you already saw Doku and Grealish warming up and stuff like that, so you knew what was going to happen, and we reacted accordingly. I do like that. I mean, obviously, I think Spencer was talking about it in the comments earlier. It makes me nervous as hell watching it, because that's what I do, but because it just felt like we missed all those chances and it was going to bite us, and especially the one that Mo misses. I was like, man, this can really come, because I think the substitutions came right after that, and I was like, oh, that could be a turning point in the game, kind of a deal. But that's just my paranoia, because really, aside from the situation where Van Dijk did his only mistake, probably the only misstep the entire game, I mean, Kelleher did not have to do a whole lot. We did not. They had possession, but not chances. And I think Slot is okay with that, because it's still, like you're saying, Maka, it's still control. You're controlling the game, just not with the ball.
Steven says that he feels even more comfortable today than back in the 1920 season, Brian, because this is correct. We're not as vulnerable on the counter. I mean, it seems like if you set a stopwatch, but when we lose the ball outside the opposition's box by 6 seconds, we've got everybody back behind the ball, and we're literally defending like Italian teams. That is one of the, if not the biggest difference Slot has brought, isn't it? It's just a confidence that, we're still maybe a little bit shell-shocked from the Klopp here, but a confidence that we're not going to concede a simple, stupid goal, at least not at the frequency we appear to do under Klopp.
It's control. I mean, I think that it's a whole difference between doing with controlled pressing versus guiding pressing, and you can see the difference right there with it. We're still pressing. We're still doing the mythology of it. We're still forcing the ball on them, but we're not going there and putting everybody up forward to it. I mean, if you watch right there, which between McAllister and Gravenberch, they both go there in time where they're at any given time. If you've watched their graphics of them right there, where you can see McAllister will make a run up, but Gravenberch drops back. I mean, so they're working in tandem in that double pivot. So I think that's the big difference. I mean, plus also we played with a 4-3-3 with a Klopp, and you didn't have that ability of having two people back there to go and shore up the defense. And I think that's what the big change is. And I think this it's coming to a good result with us. And I mean, they can do counters right there, because we saw Doku come to run the counter, but Trent being better defensively right there handled a lot of that situation. Gomez coming over there to assist to handle that situation. And it's like even what he was saying in the 1920 season right there, if you saw that same type of runs, Trent was probably about 3/4 up the pitch right there. Gomez was basically singled out. You don't see that anymore. I mean, they're going back. They're playing as what Timuchin calls, they're playing actually real fullbacks versus Trent going there and being in the midfield about half the match.
I think I was right all along. I'll just take that as that. Okay.
Before we go on, Kevin says he gets a free kebab from his local every time Scousers and Fenerbahce score in our
Well,
win.
you're gonna have to wait till tomorrow, man. Fenerbahce plays tomorrow, so
and technically that would be the start of next week, wouldn't it?
No, it's like because they play Thursdays. Fenerbahce is playing tomorrow, so gonna have to wait for that kebab.
Let me say this then. Just having a quick look at the post-match comments. Salah says about the contract situation, it's in his head, and until now, this is the last City game he'll play for Liverpool, so he's just going to enjoy it. He also then says, like, hopefully they win the league, and then we'll see what happens. Tamucha, does that give a little? I mean, I think we're all thinking the same thing. Pay him his money, whatever it is, like for 2 more seasons, and then he can go wherever he wants, because he's not dropping his level precipitously anytime soon. And I'm always of the opinion a bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush, as they say. We have a top-class goal scorer, and letting him go for next to nothing, if not just nothing, seems like a bad decision. But at the same time, do you think that's Salah opening the door a little bit through the press to say, I can be persuaded, come and talk to me?
Yeah, because they put him on the spot. I just watched that right before I joined, him and Van Dijk, they were talking to, and the interviewer knew better not to ask Van Dijk. He was like, "Oh, don't be afraid. Oh, don't worry, I'm not gonna ask you." And Van Dijk gave him the look like, "You can fucking ask me all day. I'm not gonna get into that talk in a post match Mo." But yeah, I mean, the way Mo responded, they're kind of trying to paint him to the corner. It's not like he brought it up, and when he asked, the way he answered, he's like, "Yeah, it could possibly be. It is what it is." He kind of went away from the contract talk as much as possible. I know he wants it, but he doesn't want it. You can kind of tell in his face, because I think he knows he doesn't want to make it the topic all the time. Because I'm sure the guys in the locker room don't appreciate that, because there are Van Dijk is standing next to him. And if he's not getting into that conversation, why should you be getting that conversation, especially after the game Van Dijk just had? So I think it was just a politically correct answer. I think the door is open, and there's probably something. I don't think it's money. I really don't think it's money that's holding the situation. It could possibly be the length of the contract or something like that, or the money is obnoxious. But I think today's game shows once again that when we look at those 3 contracts, take care of Van Dijk and take care of Mo, if it's possible. If they're coming for if Mo is coming in and wants a 5-year contract, I don't care how many goals he's scoring. It's not going to happen. Give him what he wants. The conversation that everybody's having, it's kind of naive. That's not how it works. You don't give everything they want to your toddler. So there's certain limits. But if it's money, if it's $1,000 a week or something, that that's fine. Take care of that, because get him and keep him. But I think those 2 show what the value is going to be moving forward. If you got to let one go, I really think you see it today. I think, again, it's Trent.
Just to be fair, though, with toddlers not getting us 30 goals a season, just the context of that.
Yeah, maybe if you give them 400,000 a week, they will get you.
I definitely think that. I definitely think that both Verge and Mo should be on a 2+1. I think that Gally kind of said the same thing on Monday right there with Mo. I think both should be on a 2+1. I give him a 1-year option out of it right there. But as you said, if I had to go in there and go out of the 3 right there, then move on, it'd probably be Trent at the moment right now. Because I just don't think that we're going to get to realistic expectations that Trent wants. As far as his contract offer, and I can't see Cote there having a right back being the highest paid player in the Premier League right now. It just doesn't add up to me.
Do you guys think, by the way, the substitution was due to Trent not having played for a long time and can't give you 90, or get a more physical guy in front of Doku?
I think it was the amount of time that he's been out right there, because I thought it probably should have been subbed a little bit sooner. Because I think that he was you could see he was really rusty in the first half. There was at least 2 or 3 missed passes that you saw in there that he played, and and I think that he did get run out once or twice right there about on that right side. But luckily that it was Gomez was able to cover up for him because of his position. But I think that Trent right there definitely, not kicking a ball for this amount of time right there, I mean, 60 is probably about the safe point for him. I mean, to play, to bring him in, because I mean, he's got a lot of matches on his hands right there, especially with Bradley being out and Konate. I mean, we're pretty much kind of sucked into that situation where he's going to be the starting right back for the foreseeable future, right there with no competition.
Let me ask you this, because we discussed this in the Discord channel, that City made a mistake turning us around at the start of the half and having us play to the cop for the first half. Mo has commented on the atmosphere at Anfield, and then there was that. Well, I didn't hear it at the time. I had to read about it afterwards. But the cop singing to Pep Guardiola that he's getting sacked in the morning.
Yeah.
But the atmosphere in that stadium was fantastic from the start. How much do you think, Temujin, did that play into the heads of the City players who are on a losing streak that they've never experienced under Pep Guardiola? So, people who like the flat track bully kind of thing, like the old thing of the schoolyard bully, if you just punch them in the nose, then they'll think twice about bothering you the second time. Do you think this losing streak is getting into their heads a little bit? And did the Anfield crowd help us enormously, help the players on the field by getting into their heads with all that noise?
Mo made it sound like, that energy, it felt like one of those like bigger European games and stuff. And, everybody knows the magnitude of the game. I was actually extremely pleased because I was slightly worried that people would kind of take this as, oh, it's City and they're hurting kind of thing. But I think everybody in that stadium understands the magnitude of this game and what a win could do. And maybe that's why we went gung-ho in the first half with the energy from the crowd and really went at him, instead of doing what we did in the second half and played a bit more of like a control game, because that energy was definitely there in the stadium. And these guys know, they've all been to Anfield. They know what the environment is going to be, what they have to battle with. You can kind of tell that team is just not a confident team. The mistakes they made in the second half, they don't make those mistakes in possession and give you that many open looks, first of all. And they are really soft in the belly. And that's like the biggest thing. They are very soft in the belly. I mean, Bernardo Silva can go around like a fucking petulant toddler all he wants. He cannot physically keep up with that. Gündoğan's legs are done. They can kind of cope when it's like more like the second half, when a team is going at him. And I think that midfield, I know Gravenberch obviously was awesome as well. Szoboszlai ran his ass off. But I think what Mac did, especially defensively in closing spaces, if you watch Mac, like when we're defending, he was unreal today. Didn't do a whole lot on the ball, so probably won't get recognized as much. But I thought he was immense defensively, like closing any space that usually City exploits on that side of the pitch. And I don't know, that's why they didn't use Savinho as much as they used Doku, for example, because that side was closed off a lot more.
Let's look at the table, Brian. It's 9 points to our nearest rivals right now, Chelsea and Arsenal, but 11 points ahead of City. It's grey hairs time for those of us who have hair, not us, obviously. But it is grey hair time in the sense that you want to be super excited about the whole thing because it is a big advantage, but you're still waiting for the other shoe to drop a little bit, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, of all those people in that top four, I'm more concerned about right now is Chelsea. I kind of said that right there in Discord earlier, right there. I think that if Maresco gets that side being consistent, I think that that's a dangerous side. I think that Jackson is actually to become a better player under Maresco. But, I think I know United has Arsenal in a couple weeks right there, and I think that'll be a pivotal game to see how Amarin comes there and gets his side right there. But, to be 11 points off top right now as a City side, that's got to be pretty disheartening at the moment right now because that's an unfamiliar space for them right there to be in. Brighton's going to fade away, but I really think that the team to look out for, if we slip up right there to look out for, is going to be Chelsea. I think that Arsenal right there doesn't have the depth to handle that, to stay up at that point. I think that, but I really think that Chelsea does have the depth and they have the ability to go there. But yeah, I'm pretty confident at the moment. I'm not going to jinx myself, I'm not going to go out there and pull what little stubs I have out of my hair or anything like that. But I think that I think we're in a good calm position at the moment. I just want to see what's going to happen in this next week. Having to go through Newcastle and then the last Merseyside derby at Goodison, because they're going to be up for it at Goodison for the last match against us. So yeah, let's see where we're at next Sunday, and I'll feel a lot better if our lead's increased.
Timuchin, we look at the defense, because you're an ex-defender and you love defending. 8 goals only conceded in 13 games. I mean, that is a phenomenal piece of defensive work for the team, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that's basically has been due to what we were talking about earlier, though. I mean, most of the goals we conceded in the past was on counters when we were outnumbered, caught in the back and stuff like that. And every team in the Premier League has good forwards that can kind of punish you 1v1. That's why they came over to the Premier League, because somewhere they kicked everybody's ass, so they came over, right? So that's gonna be that was an issue in the past. And going back, like that's what Steve was saying, you don't worry as much that we are going to lose games back to back to back or something like that, draws and points or something like that maybe. But I really think, yeah, Holland looked like, I mean, yeah, he was having a lot of fun, though. That was like the odd thing. He was just having a good old time, like joking around with people and stuff like that. He just didn't. It was like, so when does the real game really start and stuff like that? That's the look he had overall. But no, like defensively, I think we're a lot more stout the way we are, and the guys in front who protect that defense. And we've had some like really good goalie play, regardless of who's been back there too. So when we've made mistakes, we've been kind of like bailed out. So that's really impressive. I mean, I don't even know what the hell it is. Like, what is it, like 0.75 or something like that? That's kind of crazy. But you look at today's game, man. Normally, I think like, there were some crazy predictions before, like 2-2, 3-3 and stuff like that, because that's what we're used to. I really think like if, we're still playing our old style on their club, we'll probably still keep going at them in the second half. But now you don't have the legs. I mean, Szoboszlai ran a ton, but it was a lot of like lateral in the second half, like closing spaces. Same with McAllister, same with Gravenberg, right? In the first half, you kind of control the game, make them run around all over the place. Second half, you're kind of like going sideways, closing spaces, have them have the ball. I think that's the biggest difference, because those legs only last so long. Doesn't matter how good a player is, how good of a shape they're in and stuff like that. So after the 50th, 60th minute, when you can't do that press anymore, City can play around you, and that's when you leave the back exposed. We just don't fall into that trap anymore. I think that's like the biggest thing.
On top of the defense, Brian, Kelleher wasn't called into action a lot. But speaking of Virgil, he did one of those overconfident Dutch brain farts that he's prone to do. But Kelleher was up to the task. I've been of the opinion that if Alisson is going to be injury prone, we need to move him on so his legs get lost in somebody else's time. I think getting rid of Kelleher is going to be a mistake, or letting him go, not get rid of him, letting him leave. He is potentially one of the best keepers in Europe. He's the same age that Alisson came to Liverpool at right now. He's 26. He can only go upwards. Should we be pulling out all the stops as a club to convince him that he is the number one after Alisson, and probably sooner, a lot sooner than he even thinks?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I was saying right there, just off of form right there, I think that Alisson probably should be the one that should be one of the many keepers that we have that needs to get moved on. I think both him, I mean, you can say the case him, Davies, and Patagula all need to get moved on, because we have our keeper depth right now is crazy. I mean, we're at 6 keepers right now. I think right there with between the ages of 20 to like to 31. You can't sustain that right there. I think that's the one thing that we had right there with Klopp, was that we built so much depth that it's almost like it's overkill right now. And the goalkeeper department is a definite in that spot right there. I mean, I would say right there, I mean, I would have Jaros right there still will probably go out on loan with next year, move and have Marshavelli and Keller come through and battle each other out. And then, we could probably still get 25-30 for Alisson easily right now to go to another side. I mean, Alisson put out this past week, his ultimate goal is to go back to Internacional in Brazil. I mean, he's really probably about 2 more years, probably top European condition right there to play. But I mean, I think that, like you said, Kelleher is 25 right now. I think where he's at is he's 26 already. I can't remember. He's 26. I mean, okay, so you still have 5 years that you can play Keller. I mean, and his ability to save penalties right now is already right there. Is enough for you to probably save points off. So my opinion, yeah, I definitely move Allison on right there. I mean, if we find the right price to move him on.
To move to, my thing is that we don't know an awful lot about Mamardashvili, and I like save percentage as a stat for keepers because it's just a function of what they do with the shots they face that are on target. But at the same time, I think we discussed this last time, and you said he's behind one of the worst Valencia defenses in a long time. So we can't really tell either way. But we know Kelleher. We know that he's capable of stepping up for Allison. He may not have right now that extra step that makes him the world's best keeper. But if our defending is going to be as good as it is under Slot, we really need the world's best keeper behind him. The world's bloody goodest keeper would be quite.
The tricky part is the whole alley thing, we talked about it, like, and I've said it before. I mean, it's still alley, so he's going to come back and take his goal. The only catch with this is if you could say alley, oh, this was like one thing, he just got injured. From now on, he's going to be back again for a long time. But you can't. Every season you're going to rely on your backup for, I don't know, it could be like 5 weeks. It could be 5 months. You don't know how long. So I think that's the main concern. I actually think you would get a lot more for them. I think Brian has given the farm away. But I think, like you go to the Saudis and you're like, hey, if you guys wanted Ederson, we have Ali kind of a thing. And he's got a beard. So like maybe like we sell him that way.
He doesn't. He got rid of it, didn't he?
You'll get it right back. Don't worry about it. It comes back, Like I know, maybe you can't go, but trust me, it comes right back.
This is an all-over thing.
But I think that seems to be a better decision right now. I just don't trust the season though, where we go into the season with Callahan and Jarosz as his backup. If you can bring Mamardashvili and say, hey, you're going to compete, you guys are going to split time, and you can sell him that, then I think that's a feasible scenario. But if you're not going to be able to sell him that, you're not going to keep Ali and Kelleher. I don't think Kelleher will stay. Doesn't matter what. Why would he? Like, like we want him to stay, but that doesn't cut the monster. This is career. Why would he want to stay?
I think the only weird thing right there with the Georgian keeper right there, I butcher his name every time I say it right there, but I think that is that he's not a sweeper keeper. He's not a keeper that runs with his feet right there. And I think that's one of the essential things that if you look at slot system and you also look over at Klopp's system right there, you have to be smart with your feet. And that's not what he does. It could have been what, like Gally said a couple of weeks ago on the Monday Night Podcast. It's been an investment move right there because that, hey, somebody right there is going to say, hey, this guy right there, we could probably go in like 2 seasons right there, put him out on loan for 2 seasons, see where we're at, and that guy could probably go. We probably make our money back on him. So it depends on what FSG's gamble is right there with it. It was a good deal at the moment right there to go and hit his buyout clause, but we'll see what happens.
Talk about taking a gamble here with Cozzy. I think you called it at the very beginning, Cozzy. They turned us around, and it was the worst mistake they could have done. What are your feelings on that game?
Can't believe what he done.
Yeah.
I genuinely don't find. I thought he would learn his lesson from the Champions League game, where he turned us round, and like when we beat them 3-0, and we just overran them in the first half, and it's exactly the same what happened. We just overran them again. And they were like, I just don't get it. I don't know why. Because you have that discussion, by the way. That's a discussion that you have before the game. What shall we do if we win the toss? Like, and I'll just turn them around again. Like, let them get into the cop first. Okay. All right. If you want to do that, fella, that's up to you. But is that the easiest game we've ever had against them? Gotta be honest. That was so easy. I don't even I know
because of the control, it felt like that, right? Because it was under control. I was paranoid, but that's just me.
Of course. But that's just you as you cross the street and get paranoid. So I just for me, I just think it was so easy.
I jaywalk, baby.
Yeah, oh baby, come on now. Call 911 on your ass. So now I just think that this is like a moment when after like 10 minutes, even before we've scored, that they just look and just think, I don't know how we contain this. I just don't know how we contain it. Liverpool just did a typical Liverpool performance. Even like when City had the ball, they weren't creating chances. They weren't like really, only until Doku came on and Doku looked lively, that it looked like, oh, they might be able to do something here. You know, I felt like Liverpool could step up at any moment. Liverpool missed 4 or 5 unbelievable chances. It should be on rival with the Spurs score from last week. You know, look at for example, Mo Salah's one-on-one that he misses and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So, but go back to the bigger point, fella. They know it's done. You can see the reaction from Pep. They know it's done. It's absolutely, it's so maddening that we're 13 games in and Man City are 5th in the Premier League. If this is not like, oh, they're 5th in the Premier League, they're in a Champions League race. Like, what the fuck are we talking about? Forest are a point off them. What's going on here? Like, my head's fell off. If Spurs were the one today, I think Spurs might have been above them. I can't even remember, but it's just getting to the stage, gents, where Liverpool are I think the 2 football matches away from this being completely over. I think if you beat Newcastle and Everton away, I think even Arsenal look and go, fuck me. Because the problem is for Arsenal, and this is Arsenal's biggest Achilles heel right now, gents, is that they don't play Liverpool until May. If they play Liverpool at the start of Jan, that could be a net head. We go to Anfield and win. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. You're playing Liverpool in May, it could be over before you even play us. Do you know what I mean? So proud of them, lad. Everyone was brilliant. Really good. If Kwanzaa right back, by the way, get on that for 20 minutes. That was fucking beautiful, wasn't it? Gerald Kwanzaa was unbelievable at right back. Like, what a guy. You know what I mean? And by the way, so happy for him. Gomez, brilliant. Really good. Like, and going on to the midfield, mate. McAllister, man. So good in tight spaces. Just when that moment and that we all did about Gravenberch's term and he drops the shoulder and pulls away. It's his signature. But McAllister, man, he looked like he just looked like a proper world class midfielder. Like as good as anything there. And then the decision to play Diaz down the middle was genius. I wanted him to do it. I didn't think he would do it. It was genius. I thought Darwin was actually really good when he came on. Just like really harried them, and he's really good set pieces because how big he is, isn't he? He's a big lad, so defensively he's really good in set pieces as well. And just a brilliant, perfect performance. I'm so happy. And the little cherry on the top was Harvey Elliott getting some minutes. Well, a lovely little cherry to the cake as well.
Just because it's the Thursday boys on here, Tamuchin, Darwin Núñez, I mean, he didn't score. He didn't, I don't think he got any shots either. But the chaos that he brings is that they had to put 2 men on him almost every single time that he got near the ball. And that's what created the penalty, because they got 2 on him, which opened the space for Diaz to get through. And that was a penalty all day. You see that given every week. I don't think any even United fans couldn't deny that. But that doesn't happen if we retain Gakpo on the field, because the patterns got a little bit set, didn't they, at that point? Like, we needed somebody like Darwin to change it up so that City had to think again at the back.
I mean, Darwin's better on that left-hand side. I mean, I think he's better running at that than he is up the middle. I think that, and as we've seen it before right there, where you have Diaz up in the middle with Darwin on the left and Mo on the right. I mean, I think that's a faster pace side. It draws everybody out toward that left side, leaving Diaz open in the middle. I think it's a brilliant plan right there, tactically wise. But Gakpo right there toward the end, he gives you something different than all the other players do. I mean, because I think he's ability to actually track back, and also his ability to see. He's a smart footballer. I mean, he doesn't just run at you. He actually goes and tries you, and then goes and finds the right spots. I mean, that the goal rate he had on there was because of his placement, and the first goal was because of where he was, his location, and seeing how the ball got played in the middle of there ahead of time. So, I mean, I think that Diaz coming in as a sub was a perfect, because I was ready for them to get for City to get stretched, and that's what we think we needed to have him do.
For Gakpo, you got his goal. I thought he was very, very good. Tiring near the end, but this is the Gakpo we thought we were getting initially, isn't it? It's the player that makes other defenders, other teams afraid to play, because if he gets a bit of space on that corner of that box, he's going to do damage. But now on top of that, he also is very good at making those ghosting blindside runs in at the back post. And that goal was reward for his intelligence as much as anything else, wasn't it?
Oh, you're on mute, fella. You're on mute. It's probably better than what you usually say anyway. So
yeah, I guess silence is better. Less said, the better. No, I think, Mo was talking about it in the post match that's something that they talked about, like making that run. He's probably saying, hey, Walker is a shitty defender. Just run behind him. It's going to be wide open. I said in the pre-match as he gives Walker something different to worry about, on that left wing. Diaz is really good, and he was really good today. But I think Gakpo brings you something else to worry about. I think he was a lot smarter in those long balls to kind of like almost like let him go over themselves every single time with Walker and then chase the ball down and then take on. He can cut inside and stuff. But I really think Diaz in the middle was a smart move. As much as I love Nunez and what he brought once he came into the game, I think the press discipline is so much better with Diaz in the middle and Gakpo on the left. It's a smarter press, and you could see it in the first half. The thing you get with Nunez when you put Nunez in the end, because I do think Gakpo got tired and he didn't track back as much on the left wing. The thing with Nunez is, if you're a defender and when we're clearing the ball, even if it is aimlessly, man, I've been there. You don't want a dude like that coming behind you on a bouncing ball, full freaking speed, terrorize the shit out of you and makes you make mistakes. And that's why you commit like two guys, because if it bounces off his ass, I'll pick it up kind of a thing, and it opens everybody else up. I thought he did great. I was really afraid one of those tackles were going to connect and he was going to get a red card, because that's the last thing we need right now. Because they, that's what he thrives on. That's when the South American in him comes out, where like, Silva got a bit ugly, and then, like he was getting really kick out of the rough game. I mean, we watched Copa America. That's how they roll over there. Like, just like tackles are flying. I was worried that one of those would connect, but no, I thought they all did well today. Nunez came in and filled his role really well. Like Kazi was saying, I think he does help a lot when you're defending set pieces, and you knew they were going to start putting more balls into the box. I mean, probably perfectly managed by Slot again when it comes to substitutions, and that's been shocking. And is it just me? Like, I don't know why. And it's been a trend, right? Like the second halves would always been better. There are times where the first half would end and we would dominate. And I was like, man, we really should have capitalized, because they're going to adjust on the other side. And we did not adjust as much, or we did not change things or have a plan B or anything. This time I was like, that's fine. We're going to make even more changes and come out even better in the second half. I don't know. Maybe like it's just like the habit thing that we're used to now, but like his substitutions again were dead on today.
I think it's post-traumatic stress disorder, I think we could call it.
I think the Nunez one's interesting, mate, because I think he knew City were going to come out. If Liverpool are going to do that counter-attacking mid-block kind of play here, that the space will open up for Nunez, and that's how Liverpool get the second goal, because he wins, because it's kind of on the press, on the break, loads of space, he isolates Walker, doesn't. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's where Nunez comes in handy, not just defending, it's just on the counter-attack as well, because the space opens up for you, where Diaz is a bit cleverer. But going back to Gakpo a little bit, Felix, it was mentioned, scored 2 and 2 there against Real Madrid and City. It's not bad. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's probably now arguing, where am I playing then, Gaffer? Do you know what I mean? You're actually getting to the stage where you might have to every week chat with him and go, you're playing that game and Diaz is playing that game, because you get into that stage of like, I don't know when you're getting minutes. Oh, no, you will get minutes. Like, you haven't got a choice. You're getting minutes. Is he the starting left winger now? I don't know. But it's just so impressive, mate, sort of like what's happening in front of our eyes here. It really is, because as much as the league's wide open this year, you still got to capitalise. You still got to win your games. You know what I mean? Like, again, there's always those type of seasons that open up every 5 or so years. Do I think this Liverpool team's the finished article? No, far from it.
Which is scary for everybody else, right?
But again, an opportunity knocks, gents. You place yourself into the position, you grasp the opportunity when you can get it. Do you know what I mean? Like Leicester did, like Conte's Chelsea did, like Mourinho's third title win when he went back to Chelsea did. Sometimes opportunity opens up and you go, fuck me, you got to take one. Do you know what I mean? And that's what is happening with this Liverpool team. And as much as we can go on about the manager and stuff like that, mate, the players on the pitch felt like Robertson was really good. Again, you know what I mean? He had an off game, as we all argue he's having his off games, but he was really good again. Do you know what I mean? And I'm just so happy with the players, fella. Szoboszlai's best game for ages. Yeah. Like, I thought second half he tired, he got a bit laboured. I thought he could have played a more of a killer pass in the last 10 minutes. But that's just me being greedy, wanting 3-4-0. You know what I mean? And he's probably doing the right thing, and I'm just still getting frustrated because I'm like, I want to really put the sword to these lads and really hurt them when you get the chance. But that's just me being a fan. So brilliant, man! It really is brilliant, and you do feel like you're 2 football matches away from greatness. It really does feel like that already, and that's insane to think about.
Before we start wrapping it up, Cozzy, a very specific question for you: is Arne Slot still a bald idiot?
Yeah, I know. He's not a bald idiot anymore. He's getting a ball fraud. The ball frauds.
He's a bit good, isn't he? He's a bit good as a manager.
Listen, fella, again, I do worry about February, March time with the players, how many minutes he's getting into McAllister and Gravenberch. I worry about Gravenberch every day. He's the last thing I think about when I put my head on the pillow. He's the first thing I think about when I wake up. Because he hasn't played this many minutes of football in 3 years. And he's petrifying me. So I don't know where his rest comes. Again, I wouldn't even fucking look at the Southampton game. He wouldn't even be for that League Cup game. He wouldn't even be in the room for the prep before it. You're just out. Just send them to Holland for 4 days. Do you know what I mean? And
I think that game, the Champions League games.
Yeah, Girona, definitely. Yeah. Shoot, even this weekend.
You know, he wouldn't play. He's not. I would say to him now, you're not playing at the Champions League until the knockout phase. Yeah. You're not even playing. Like, don't even worry about it. And I just think, that's what I worry about more, Maka. So that's when I was like making those jokes and things. When Liverpool are dominating games, I'm glad he's brought Jones into the mix more now. Because in those first 7 games, Jones wasn't really in the mix. Do you know what I mean? And now he's brought him in. It's like you need to take minutes off these lads, and he'll learn that. Of course he will. But we've all been there before. Look at Pep Guardiola now. You've got to take minutes off players. So no, he's no longer a bald idiot. But I will say is that, you know, Liverpool, if you can win in February, win in February. And then worry about the rest later. Do you know what I mean? I know that sounds insane. I know you laughed him, but if you fucking go to, you know, we were laughing in January when you went 20 odd points clear the last time, and you're like, do we start resting players now? Like, do we just you know, you get to that stage? I don't know. So, what a football team, man, it really is.
And on that note, before we all go back to our last afternoon naps before we get back to work after the Thanksgiving holidays, especially me, is what we have to do is make sure you're liking and subscribing on all of the social media. Smash the like button or tap it gently if you follow the Thursday show on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, X, formerly known as Twitter, and now Blue Sky and Mastodon as well. We're spreading our tentacles all over the place. You won't be able to get rid of us. We'll be like a bad dose before. I've no idea. I don't even know what a Blue Sky is because I'm from Ireland and we never saw one of those before.
It's not a bad guy off the Mastodon. I can't remember.
It's I don't know. I've been recommended it a couple of times. So hey, why don't we get like an early dib on it? And if anybody is not
one of the first on the Mastodon, you've got to change that name now.
Yeah, me not knowing what Mastodon or Blue Sky is the closest I'll ever be to Cillian Murphy. His lack of knowledge of social media. But join us tomorrow morning for the Monday coffee morning and tea if you drink tea, and then a more in-depth discussion of the game, I'm sure, on the Monday night podcast. So join Temujin and the boys for that. But for everybody else, we hope you had a nice Thanksgiving weekend. We certainly had a great one here at American Scouser TV, and a nice way to start off the week. I'm off to call my dads to laugh at him for a few hours because he's a City fan, and then get disinherited. But, you know, it's worth it. It's worth it. Peace out, everybody. Have a good one, and we will see you next week.